Why has the United Nations Secretary General sent out an SOS for the world? 'Cause the Earth is getting too hot. If you don't believe me, check out the climate stripes, where every line represents whether it was hotter than average or colder than average each year from 1850 to 2019. You can see it's getting hotter. Why? Why is it getting hotter? Once we started to burn oil, coal, and natural gas, we created an enhanced greenhouse effect. These gases do a great job at retaining the sun's energy within the atmosphere, gradually causing us to heat up, as if we've been piling more and more carbon dioxide pollution blankets on the Earth's bed. But luckily, there's plenty we can do to change the ending to this story. For example, trees. A 1-ton fully grown tree can take quite a bit of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and store it, especially in its stem and roots. And in doing so, can help slow down the heating of the Earth. This works best when mature forests are left to grow and are healthy. Then they can take the maximum amount of carbon dioxide or CO2 out of the atmosphere. It doesn't work at all if we chop down the trees or let them get diseased, and it has a smaller effect for young, newly planted trees. Now, it depends what environment the plants are growing in as to how effective they are at taking the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. In this picture, you can see that it's actually wetlands that have the greatest underground storage of carbon dioxide, and above ground storage is highest at 120 for tropical forests. And you can see that deserts have a very low storage. So students at Beaumaris Primary School in Western Australia used themselves as a computer simulation to look at what happens in the Earth's atmosphere with different combinations of forests versus factories. So the rules of the simulation were: forests, which were teams of kids, were able to add oxygen to the atmosphere by bouncing white ping pong balls. And because trees can remove carbon dioxide from the air, they were also able to steal carbon dioxide, which was represented by orange ping pong balls. And kids who were in factory teams, they added carbon dioxide by bouncing orange balls. So when we have a lot of forests versus factories, we would expect we would have more oxygen and less carbon dioxide, and it should be easier to breathe. As opposed to having lots of factories and hardly any forests, where we would have lots of carbon dioxide, which would make it harder to breathe. When we have lots of forests, we would expect that the Earth would cool off or at least not heat up as fast, whereas with lots of factories, that's going to create more carbon dioxide, that's going to heat the Earth up. So we did 3 simulations. The first simulation was a healthy forest where 7 teams of students were forests and 1 team of students were factories. So they grabbed their ping pong balls and they headed into an atmospheric circle formed by more kids, and their job was to keep the ping pong balls from getting out into space. So the yellow-shirted kids are the forest teams, and the orange-shirted kids are the factories, and the kids with their normal uniform on are the atmosphere boundary. You can see they're quite busy keeping track of all those crazy ping pong balls bouncing everywhere. So what did we find? We expected mostly white balls, and that's what we found. When we have lots of forests and few factories, we have lots of oxygen, not much carbon dioxide, and it's easier to breathe. And the Earth should cool off or at least not get as fast. Time for simulation number 2. This time, equal number of factory teams and forest teams. Again, forests in the yellow jerseys and factories in the orange jerseys. Bouncing the oxygen balls in white and the carbon dioxide balls in orange. Balls going everywhere. We expected about half and half, and that's about what we got. So when you have equal forested factories, you expect that it would be sometimes hard to breathe and a little bit slower of the heating of the earth than otherwise. And then finally, simulation number 3, this time with mostly factories and only one forest. So you can see the orange jerseys are much more common on the kids as they race around bouncing their orange balls, and the one forest team tries to clean up as much of those orange carbon dioxide balls as they can, but they're really outnumbered in the atmosphere right now. We expected to find mostly orange balls or carbon dioxide, and that's what we found. So when we have mostly factories, it's harder to breathe, there's a lot of pollution, and the earth gets hotter. Do we want to end up like that? No! Thanks, Beaumaris. Great job, kids.